So you mentioned your album, the first one you worked on since maybe 2008. You were working on a very long period of time. And what I noticed with artists, usually when you give them all the time and they're working on their passion project, basically, it comes out to be really good. So the first project is hard to follow up because then you get the pressures and then you get the pressure you have to produce and they have to release an album now. So do you deal with those pressures? How do you deal with it? Does it influence you? I mean, what I'm saying is probably, is it affecting you creatively, negatively, or?
I think the biggest pressure that is put upon me is my own pressure because I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very ambitious artist, and I try to remain curious, and I try to explore other forms of art around me. I try to go see shows, and it's not only like listening to other music, but also see art and dance and exhibitions and movies, and that helps me. That helps, I think, my ambition stay quite interesting and quite high. So I put the pressure on myself to be able to innovate, and not only innovate in my own field, in my own thing, but innovate in a way that I hope my music would still be valid and relevant many, many, many years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, because the music sphere, I feel, has been changing a lot quicker, at a quicker rate than it has been in the past. Where now every year there's a trend, and every year there's a trend. And you mentioned
6 months, even.
6 months, yeah. That's I mean, and you mentioned on the interview on Al Jazeera that I watched, and you were saying a lot of times you get booked. You feel like you get booked because you are. It's a topic now, women and Muslim women artists and stuff like that, and that is a bit frustrating, maybe.
Well, sometimes I get these bookings in wonderful places and good festivals, and I get very excited because I'm like, okay, my music has crossed has crossed over, and then I see like the theme of the year is actually Islamic arts or revolution voices, or which I don't mind. I'm very proud and happy to be part of any movement, and I identify with so many different things. And I'm not ashamed of any parts of my culture is like so diverse, but that's not what I want to only be. I also want to be just recognized as an artist, or sometimes even like a pioneer, because I think I'm offering something very new to the global music.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anyone who's quite doing what you're doing, honestly, and that's why I was really excited to have you on the show as well, because it's a new genre, maybe, because genres aren't really genres the way they used to be. You can be, there's no name for it anymore. You just do multiple songs. I think someone like modern Post Malone maybe also was doing this. The hip-hop heads are angry at him for culturally appropriating hip-hop, but he's not just hip-hop. He does all kinds of music. Go into rock, it doesn't matter. There's no borders anymore, and that's what's nice about it. To me, what's interesting is the way people are incorporating all these world musics, adding these Western elements maybe to make it a little bit more appealing to a wide audience. But why limit yourself? Because that's what's creating great art right now.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my biggest inspiration is Kanye West, because when he produces, he's in contact with so many different people from so many different spheres, from electronic music world, and he incorporates all these different samples, sometimes like from world music, sometimes from church music.
And that was a gospel album.
Yeah, it's for me. It's like 360 degrees. Sometimes at times it's dark. At times it's like very introvert, and sometimes it's like very pop. Sometimes it's gospel, and that's how I see music, because I grew up listening to classical European music like Beethoven, and then Louis Armstrong, and like old jazz and blues, and then some 30s from the 1930s Tunisian Jewish music. So I feel like I'm a mix. And then when I started making my own choices, I used to be very fond of Celine Dion, and then I moved to metal, and then I used to also perform and cover Alanis Morissette and The Gathering, and so I just like well, it was a little bit too much, but
A lot. But you notice, I mean, you draw inspiration from everyone, and it doesn't, you don't have to sound like these people. You can take some elements, maybe in your brain it clicks like, oh, I think this style could work with that, and it's a mix.
This I when I started my metal band, I felt that.
Wait, what year was that? That was in
It
school?
was in the early it was in the early 2000s. It
Yeah.
was like my first time being a singer on stage, and we started doing like
Right.
these shows. But I felt there were strong connections between goth and metal music and classical European music, which
Yeah.
are from like completely different eras. But I always feel that there's like some common soul to it, and I carry both souls with me today in the music that I do now. So it's like very interesting. And also in Tunisia we have a lot of we have this instrument that's the bagpipe, which is a Celtic
Yeah.
instrument. So there's gotta be like somebody who traveled from one part to the other. I don't know who inspired.
Do you always start researching like where that came from? You find it interesting to see?
Not really, but it's a very interesting connection, and somehow sometimes people say that my voice is a little bit Celtic, or some of my melodies.
Yeah. With
So
the high notes, the soulful, yeah.
yeah, so in the end, like those things are just more powerful than us, and that's a very beautiful message, especially in the seas that we're traveling to nowadays, with all like people back to being conservative and back to being a little bit racist and back to be a little bit like closed and rejecting.
Yeah. People are scared of the unknown, is what it is, I think.
Exactly,
like
but
we don't-
music explores that and exposes like the unknown, and after all, it's not that unknown because it's just like it travels from one heart to the other. So I feel like that's why it's the true the most truthful thing.